Welcome to the Are You Set Up for Sales Success series. This is part one. And I decided to record this series because there is so much noise in the e-commerce space. But really, when it comes to growing a successful e-commerce brand, when you remove the noise, there are a few key things that if you get right, it will be much easier. Now, I'm never going to suggest that growing an e-commerce brand is easy. And if you're looking for easy, I'm sorry, but you have signed up to the wrong gig. But let's ride the wave, let's get us there faster, and that's what this series is all about. I'm going to share with you what I believe to be the stepping stones to success. Now, you don't have to nail every single one to be successful. That's not what this is about. But I encourage you to listen to what I share and to self-diagnose what you are missing. Because if it's something that you can't tick off, then fixing it or focusing on it is 100% going to help, not hinder, the growth of your business. Ready to dive in? Now, this is a series, so I'm not covering all of the stepping stones to success in this one episode. That would be a mega episode if I did. But today I want to share what I call eyes on the prize. 3 key areas where you either need to get eyes or you need your eyes on some key parts. So firstly, you need a visibility strategy. You've heard me talk about this before, because without a visibility strategy, you are hustling, and you are hustling hard. You are likely starting from scratch every single day, and it feels really hard. This is probably one of the biggest areas where I see potential in struggling e-commerce brands. They don't have a repeatable visibility strategy that gets their brand seen by new eyeballs every single day. They are winging it. They're posting and hoping, which isn't a strategy. And when you don't have a visibility strategy, it's going to take you a long time to gain traction and to get predictable results, because you can't sell to people who don't know about you yet. It makes total sense, right? Yet it's something I don't see e-commerce founders focusing on. Or actually, let me rephrase that, because I know that you all know that you need visibility. You are clever cookies, you're smart, but you don't have a consistent, repeatable strategy that you are measuring. So you're trying loads of different things, and they may work temporarily, but not predictably. So in order to have successful, predictable, and reliable sales, you need a reliable visibility strategy, a way to get in front of your ideal customer every single day, but also a way to measure that. Because if you can't measure it, how do you know that your strategy is working? Now, my visibility strategy for both my e-commerce business and my coaching business is a low-cost lead ad. I can tell you exactly how many new eyeballs I got in front of yesterday. That wasn't luck. That was a proven strategy that I have perfected. Now, my lead ad gets my ideal customer to raise their hand and show their interest in what I sell or who I support. Now, you may not pick a lead ad as your strategy. That is okay. I'm not saying this has to be your strategy too, because there are a lot of visibility strategies out there, but you have to pick the one that feels aligned to you. I like to systemize my sales as much as possible because I didn't leave my corporate career to work harder than I did then, and I personally want to build a freedom-filled business. So I chose a strategy that I set up once, and it pretty much works in the background for me. It is hands off. Now, for the extroverts listening to this episode, your strategy might be TikTok. You might absolutely love working that algorithm. Or perhaps you're keen to grow as fast as you can and you've got a budget that matches that desire, so you invest in PR. That too is a visibility strategy. SEO, Pinterest, brand ambassadors, collabs, all visibility strategies. You need to pick one and you need to master it. You also need to measure it. So to tick this stepping stone off your list, you need to be able to tell me, how many new eyeballs did you get in front of yesterday? When you can answer that, you have your visibility strategy nailed. Now, stepping stone number 2 is knowing your numbers. Now, again, you've heard me talk about this on the podcast. E-commerce is just an equation. It is maths. So knowing that it's an equation, you need to know the three metrics that matter to work that math: traffic, conversion rate, and average order value. How much traffic is landing on your website, what percentage is buying, and how much are they spending? Now, you may question why you need to know this to grow your sales. Because don't I just need more traffic? Yes, you likely do if you haven't reached your sales goals. But it is a formula, and you actually have far more control than you realize. You can control all three: traffic, average order value, and conversion rate. But do you know what you need each to be to reach your sales goals? If not, that is your gap, right? I have a calculator called the three metrics that matter. You can plug in your average order value and your conversion rate, which you grab from inside your Shopify analytics, and it will tell you exactly how much traffic you need to reach your sales goals. You can also look to see how your traffic drops if you increase your conversion rate or your average order value. This is your formula to reach your sales goals. And without knowing the numbers, how can you measure your success in this space? So let's say you decide to try to increase your average order value. So you add bundles to your website, you drive your email subscribers to those bundles, or you do a free gift with purchase if they spend a certain amount. And of course, that certain amount is above your current average order value. But if you don't know what your current average order value is and you implement those strategies and you don't measure the impact of those strategies, again, you are flying blind. You have to know your formula, what you want to influence, and then measure your impact against influencing those metrics. If you want to increase your conversion rate, you might add more trust to your website. Double down on getting reviews. You might focus on increasing your returning visitor rate because returning website visitors convert at a higher rate than brand new visitors. And you likely have a low returning visitor rate, which means you need more traffic to make the one sale than someone who has a higher returning visitor rate. If you would like a copy of my three metrics that matter calculator, just DM me on Instagram, the word calculator, and I will happily share it with you. There's a link to my Insta in the show notes, or it's simply my name at Chontelle Fossey. Know your numbers, set a goal on what metric you're going to positively influence, and then move on to the next metric once you've nailed it, right? When you know the formula, it takes the emotion out of it. You become a master problem solver and you just solve the problem of positively influencing the metric that matters. And your sales goal becomes much closer and you feel in control because you're measuring your progress. You're seeing what works and what doesn't. Wouldn't you rather know that than post and hope for the best? Now, the final stepping stone in this part of the series is traffic. I recommend that you tick off the first two before you move to this. It will be so much easier for you. So once you have eyes on your brand daily, you know how much traffic you need on your website to reach your goals, you then become a problem solver around getting that traffic there. Now, I want to ask you a question that I would say 80% of you could not answer. This is not a trick question. I'm just wanting to highlight a point here. So how much traffic did you get to your website yesterday? Now, I'm not asking you to scramble and open up your Shopify analytics because yes, that's exactly where you find that figure. But if you are truly focusing on increasing your traffic, you need to know that number. You need to be looking at it daily because if you're trying to positively influence it, don't you want to know if yesterday's effort actually worked? If you are actively focusing on it, you will be doing things daily to see what gets you the most traffic. It might be that you decide to add a link to stories every single day. It might be that you decide to go live and show your products every day for 30 days. It might be that you decide to send 2 emails this week rather than 1. Or maybe you're going to focus on reducing your cost per click for your ads. But what is actually moving the needle? I can't tell you that because it will be different for every single brand. What works for one brand may flop for you. Not because you're not good at it, it might be that you're not aligned to that strategy, so you don't put 100% into it. Find a strategy that you can stick with that feels aligned, and again, measure the crap out of it. You need to not only get seen, but you need that traffic to get to your website, and you need to measure the impact of that. Is it working? Am I increasing it by focusing on X, Y, Z? Okay, X worked and Z didn't, so I'm going to double down on X. Can you see where I'm coming from here? What I see often is passionate e-commerce founders trying all of the things. Their brand is not growing through a lack of effort. Their brand is not growing because they aren't measuring the impact of their effort. They don't know what works and what doesn't. So they're just trying all of the things. That is not a sustainable strategy. That is a strategy to burn out. Wouldn't you rather know that your live didn't get traffic rather than keep doing lives that you really don't enjoy? Or wouldn't you rather get comfortable going live when you can see that it's made a positive difference? It gave you a spike in traffic. It's actually working, so let's do more of it. Let's work smarter, not harder. Let's double down on what works and say goodbye to what doesn't. There are so many different ways to increase traffic. Find a way that works for you and again, master it. I personally run conversion ads to cold traffic and I retarget warm traffic, people who have been to my website before. And again, I can tell you exactly the impact of that spend. You can grow your traffic with time or with money or with a combination of both. It depends again on your individual formula, your budget, and what feels aligned for you. If I didn't have a budget to put towards ads, I would be measuring organic ways to get traffic. I'd be collaborating with brands who have the same target audience as me, or committing to going live or posting on stories for 30 days, with the goal to analyze every single day to determine what works so that I can do more of that. But I would measure it. I wouldn't just do it, not see immediate results, and then drop it. That is exhausting, and it's not something that you can rinse and repeat. I'm always looking for things that I can rinse and repeat, because if it works, let's keep doing it. I don't want to be reinventing the wheel every single Monday or stressing that I haven't reached my sales goals because what I did that month didn't work. If you don't measure it, you are growing a brand blind. You're literally blindfolded and trying to find the path. It doesn't work. And I'd also be making that traffic work harder for me. So I'd be measuring the percentage of traffic that is new to my website and the percentage that has been there before. Because I know that traffic that has been there before converts at a much higher rate than traffic that has only been to my website the once. It's why I run retargeting ads. They convert at a much higher rate than new visitors, which means I need less of them to make one sale. Inside my group coaching program, Send and Scale, I show my students how to set up a report to measure their new versus returning website traffic. My goal is always to try and positively influence my returning traffic percentage, because when I do, sales are easier. My strategy around this is not only my retargeting ad. That converts for sure, but also I use my email automations and my weekly sends to strengthen that strategy. Once again, I've systemized what works for me. One-time setup for long-term results. It is definitely not set and forget, but it's set and monitor, right? Tweak as needed, and again, rinse and repeat. Let's work smarter, not harder. So, part one of the Are You Set Up for Sales Success series is all about getting eyes on your brand and your eyes on your metrics. It sounds common sense, right? But are you actually doing this? If not, that is your gap, and that's what you need to focus on. Know how many new eyeballs saw your brand yesterday. Know your individual formula, how much traffic you need to reach your sales goals based on your average order value and your conversion rate. And then know how much traffic reached your website yesterday and what percentage was new versus returning. The new versus returning I look at once per week, not every single day. Now, these are 3 key areas, and if you're missing one, that's your focus this week. I would love to know what came up for you in this episode. Drop into my DMs and share with me. And if you want to keep across this series, I'm also committing to a daily talking reel on my Insta where I share each of the stepping stones and then I go a little deeper on this podcast episode. So come and join me. Once again, thank you for gifting me your ears today. It blows me away how many of you tune in every week, and I am so incredibly grateful. Join me next week for part 2, which is Copy That Converts. I'll see you then.